Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Dancing in the Rain. I'm your host, Bethany Meadows, back for another week. If you were just listening to another program and you didn't get to the radio to shut it off fast enough, I hope you'll stay with us anyway. Right, Big Dave?
That's right.
Did you have a good week?
I had a great week. What about yourself?
Pretty good. You know, I got to fill in for Greg Davis on Priority Talk Live on Thursday.
How was that?
So much fun. So much fun. And it was particularly fun to have you in all the windows every 5 minutes making faces at me.
I was trying to mess with you and Kim.
I managed to hold it together. You did make me one time. But
Especially that one to the left right there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I was in a dark room and all of a sudden, boom, there it was.
Yeah. And you know how easily scared I get. You know, you just play that music with that beat and it sends me off my chair and jumping at me out of the windows. But it was fun. And I enjoyed, we had callers too. We had people calling in. We were talking about spiritual warfare and the Women's March and Bear Bryant. You know, it was the 34th anniversary of Bear Bryant passing away. So had a great time on Thursday. So I appreciate Greg invited me for that.
You're getting the fever now, huh?
I am. I liked it. You know what we're going to talk about today?
No telling with you. What's on your
I
list
know.
or what did you Google?
Oh, you know it. But one of my passions is fitness. And it's hard to tell when you look at me because, I have some extra weight that I could stand to lose. But I've been doing CrossFit for like 5.5 years. It'll be almost 6 years in May. 6 years in May. And I'm 47. And so some people think of CrossFit as being kind of extreme, but it's the only thing that stuck with me. I've gone to, all the gym memberships, tried all of that, did, the why. And the thing is I got bored easy. That's
okay.
See, that's the problem with me. And I'm a little competitive. So that CrossFit, you can get really competitive, go to competitions and that kind of thing. But it's really, you're competing against yourself because you keep every day's different, but you do keep track of those particular workouts. And then you can compare against the last time you did it. So you look and you say, oh, last time I did this in 8 minutes and 43 seconds. So that becomes your goal. I'm going to beat last time's time. So it really is competitive kind of against yourself. But, I mean, pretty much when I was a kid, very, very athletic. I was a tomboy. So I was always playing with my brother's friends, playing street hockey. And my brother was 3 years younger than me. So the fact that he was a boy and I was a girl, we kind of evened out. Because, he was very athletic. So we'd play tennis and we were always outside playing. And I got involved in playing on a boys' baseball league. I think I talked a little bit about that at one point. But, because back in those days, that we're talking the late 70s, early 80s. That's when all the guys had long hair anyway. So they all thought I was a guy. And enjoyed that. I enjoyed the team aspect of playing and all of that. So, but as I got into older years, I got into volleyball in my 20s. I was really big into volleyball in my 20s. But when I got to my 30s, by then I had like 5 kids and busy schedule and kind of didn't have time, or I should say I didn't make time, right? So you start putting on a few pounds and so over time things kind of got away from me and it wasn't just a weight thing. It was the fact that I couldn't do anything. Like the kids were involved and they were doing things and I was always afraid of hurting myself because I didn't have the confidence.
Right.
That, physically I could handle it. So I missed out on a lot of stuff. So I was like, like one time we were on a pontoon boat. Everybody jumped in to go swimming, but there was no ladder on the pontoon boat. And I'm thinking, I'm never getting back in. And not without like 6 people helping me. And that's going to be embarrassing. So I was afraid of being embarrassed. So I I don't really feel like swimming. I'm just going to stay up here. I'll throw you guys the thing if you drown, but I'm going to stay. So I missed out, right?
I know the feeling. I used to, because I weighed almost 100 pounds more, always watch what chairs I would sit in when we'd go to people's houses.
Right.
Because if they had an aluminum, lawn chair, I wouldn't sit in it because I know I would break it.
Oh my goodness, do I have a story. So I'm over at a friend's house for, a pool party.
Uh-huh.
And you know those darn resin chairs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just, it depends on how old they are, will depend on how strong they are.
Exactly.
So I go over there and I sit in the chair and I hear it cracking under me, right? So I stand up real quick because, I don't want to like wipe out. That would be really embarrassing. So I moved to a different chair. And this one was more loungy. It wasn't quite a lounge chair, but it was kind of more that way where it kind of slung. It was more of a sling kind of chair. So I'm sitting in that chair, and don't you know it, that thing let go, and it was like bang, 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 bang as I went down. And, I'm right there with
Nothing
you on the
with more
chest.
embarrassing.
I know.
You know the kind that are little, excuse me, the little bouncy ones that don't have the leg.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I always were afraid of them because I'd afraid, even with them being wrought iron,
Right.
that they would bend.
They would let go.
And I had one do that, and I ended up flipping out backwards
Ah.
and hit my head. And
I had a resin chair, so the back two flip out when I was watching my daughter do
yeah,
gymnastics one time, and I was in the parent viewing area. And I guess I leaned back a little too much, but the back two things, they just flipped out, like just laid down. And I did a full somersault, stood up, and put my hands in the air like the little gymnasts do, and went,
ta-da!
ta-da! Yeah. I mean, what else can you do in that moment, right? So I started thinking about maybe having, which my guests today are from the gym. So we're going to talk a little bit about faith and fitness and how that ties together. But I put together some thoughts before we get them in here. And, what God has to say about it, right? And this is not easy for me to do because it's convicting. But Rick Warren, Rick Warren,
Oh yeah.
who wrote The Purpose Driven Life, right? He says, keeping your body in shape is a spiritual discipline. It's not about losing a few pounds, wanting to live longer, or trying to look nice. So he's putting the focus on the discipline aspect of, keeping ourselves in shape. So, little statistics, right? 20% of the population in every state in America is obese. I would say it might even be a little higher than that, but that's
Right.
what I pulled off the great Google machine. So 50 million people worldwide will die this year from chronic diseases due to being overweight. Because weight does affect your health. It makes your heart has to work harder, and you're more prone to other diseases, as a result of it. So your physical health is an important part of making your life count. I can't fulfill the purpose that God has for me if I'm sick and tired, right? And you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I want to look, I want my motivation to be right. It's not just vanity, right? For me, it's about, I know that God has things left for me to do while I'm on this earth. So I want to take care of the vessel he's put me in to do that. There's a passage in 1 Corinthians 6 from 12 to 20 where God is kind of talking about this. So if we look at verse 12, in there it says, I have the right to do anything you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but I will not be mastered by anything. So I've used that verse before about, I've worked in youth ministry and I've had kids come up to me and say, oh, what about this secular song? Is it okay to listen to this song? And I kind of use that verse to give them some counsel in that area, right? Because, that's where we just don't have that black and white. Thou shalt not listen to Lady Gaga, right? We don't.
You're right.
we have to choose things that we know are good and right for us as Christians. So and this it's kind of the same thing. Do I choose to eat that big giant slice of cheesecake? Or do I, make a better choice maybe? Because, it may not be beneficial for me to eat that cheesecake, and especially not every day, right?
No.
I love cheesecake.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah. Used to be ice cream when I was little, but, I got sophisticated. So, So God expects us to manage our body. Like in that verse, that's what he's saying. He's expecting a little bit from us. I can't, he's not going to lay everything out for us to in exact detail. He expects us to use the brain he gave us, right? So he expects us to manage our body. And our bodies are a gift from Him. And He's really given it to us on loan, and we're supposed to take care of it. It's our responsibility to take care of it. Verse 13 says, food for the stomach and the stomach for food, and God will destroy them both. The body, however, is not meant for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. So here He makes it plain that our bodies are His property, right? They belong to Him. So we don't really have the right to go messing it up, whether that be through sexual immorality or through gluttony, which, since we're talking about food, God created us. So we don't have the right to just do whatever we want with it. Looking at verse 14, by His power God raised the Lord from the dead, and He will raise us also. So He's talking about, when we'll be resurrected. And God does never waste anything. And so we need to take care of what He's given us. In verse 15, He says, do you not know that your bodies are members of Christ Himself? Shall I then take the members of Christ and unite them with a prostitute? Never. So here's talking about how our bodies are connected to the body of Christ. And, a sin against the body is really in a special class because our body is connected to the body of Christ. So I told you this passage was convicting. Verse, what are we on? Let's look at verse 19. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. That kind of says a lot too, doesn't it? Our bodies is God's temple. So if you were walking down the street and you saw someone vandalizing a church, what would you do? You'd be upset.
Be upset and call the police.
Right, or try and stop them or whatever.
Right.
But that's kind of what we do to ourselves when we don't take care of ourselves. We're kind of vandalizing that temple.
Yeah,
I know.
I know you're looking right at me when you say all this.
No, I'm looking right at you because you're the only person around.
I know, but I feel like it's going straight to the heart. You know what I'm saying?
And it is for me. It is for me because I struggle, man. I struggle. I like food. I struggle with, and we eat pretty clean. We eat very healthy, but I eat a lot of it. I mean, I like it. I like food. What can I say?
Me too.
In verse 20, He says, you were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with our bodies. He's really talking about the value that He has placed on us. And the fact that we're bought with a price. Look at what we're worth. Look what He did on the cross. And, man, He says we're worth dying for. So we're infinitely valuable, right? So keeping our body in shape is a spiritual discipline, just like the quote from Rick Warren earlier. So it's not just about losing a few pounds or wanting to live longer or trying to look nice, as he said. God created our bodies. Jesus died for it. The Holy Spirit lives in it. Our body's connected to Christ. It's going to be resurrected one day. And God's going to hold us accountable for how we manage this gift that He has given us. And so good health should be desired in and of itself. But, God desires us to have good health and the emotional and physical energy that comes with that. Goodness knows. When I'm going to the gym regularly and I'm eating clean, I feel twice as good as when I don't. And it just gives me so much more energy and just a positive outlook in general than if I don't. So that's why it's so important. And I'm preaching to the choir right now. There are lots of verses about physical exercise. Let's see. Proverbs 31:17. I love Proverbs 31. I mean, because, it really is such a great manual as a Christian woman. And I love all the things that we can be industrious and we can be creative. And we are empowered. It's just a great passage. So verse 17 says, she sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. And CrossFit has made me so strong, but it's not just the physical strength that comes with that. It's the emotional and mental strength that comes with that. I have this thing where I want to see how many bags of groceries I can carry from the car to the kitchen, up a flight of stairs. And it used to be two. And now I can take the whole trunk with me. As long as I got, space to kind of get the loop around my arm, I'm carrying them up the stairs. And that's just that kind of a funny example. But, when I'm physically fit, I can work all day. I can serve others all day and still go make dinner. And so this is just what I wanted to share this week, was just about the importance of being fit. And our guests are going to come in. They're going to share a little bit about their fitness stories. And we'll talk a little bit about in the mom segment about kids and physical fitness as well. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'll introduce our guests to you. And we'll see you in a moment.
Hiding in the midnight, I've watched life pass me by. I gotta take it off. I gotta take it around to the other side. I gotta take it.
Welcome back to Dancing in the Rain. I'm your host, Bethany Meadows. Big Dave in the booth rocking us out. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Yeah, we're talking about faith and fitness today, and I have here in the studio with me Shane Rodriguez, who's the owner of Ignite Fitness in Hoover. And I've known Shane almost 6 years. It's been almost 6 years since I started
It sure has.
at
6
the
years.
gym. And I was probably the one person that you have that walked through the door that you thought, oh, she's going to last a week, right?
Well, first of all, it was like you would want to get in there and see how quick you could get out before
Yeah.
I would talk about fitness.
This is true. I'm probably still there. I still come in and say, oh, the best part is finishing. But no, I mean, honestly, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't still be there after all this time. It does have a positive effect on my life. So that's why I'm there. But tell us a little bit about you, because you've been doing personal training for a long, long time.
Yes, I've been in the fitness business, so personal training, health club for about 14 years now. And Ignite Fitness in a few more months will be coming up on its 7-year anniversary. So I've worked out and had fitness a part of my life for pretty much all my life, but really got serious about it and turned it into a living about 14 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I got to tell you that I never liked personal trainers. Like, I went to a lot of gyms, and they were always these very fit people, and I wasn't. And so it's like, oh, easy for you to say 10 more, right? And it was usually a man, too, which makes it even worse. But you've worked with women a long time,
Yes.
and so you have a way of talking and motivating and inspiring women to get their best out of them, because we're different, right? Than
Yes,
guys.
I would say 75% of my clients have been women, so
Yeah.
the majority of them have been female.
So how did you get introduced to CrossFit? Why did you start down that path?
Well, like you said, I was a personal trainer for 6 years, so even personal trainers think they're fit, okay? And most of them look fit to the average person. But when I did my first CrossFit workout, which was it took about 10 minutes for the whole class, I was lying on the ground and thinking, wow, I'm not in good shape at all. Nothing like I thought I was. And again, looks are perceiving, because you can look the act, but if you want to be in total health, meaning cardiovascular, aerobic, all that in one, there's a lot more to it than just looking good.
Right. Well, and it exposes your weak areas in a hurry, too, because it is you can probably explain better than I can what CrossFit really is. It's like that cross-functional, you get all the nice jargon to go with that.
Yes, it's varied functional movements, things that you do in class that makes your life outside of class more functional, meaning if you're, moving to another house and having to unload boxes, or
Right.
if you're having to get something off the top shelf, or having to bend down and pick something up, or having to run up a hill to get your dog or kid,
Right.
simple things like that until you start CrossFit, you don't realize a year later when you do that and you think about, wow, a year ago when I did that, I would be totally out of breath, but now
Right,
it's not
right.
even-
I was telling Big Dave in the intro, which you didn't hear because you were in the other room. that I have a thing going about how many grocery bags I can carry from the car to the kitchen, right? And I'm up to about 20. I mean, I can just loop them on your arms and get both kind of loaded down, and it's like a fireman's carry, right?
That must be a CrossFit thing because
You
I
do it
see
too?
I see how many groceries I can get without taking a cart to my car. So I don't know why. I just don't feel like bringing that cart out there. I'd rather just carry all the
Just as
bags
easy.
and leave the cart in the store.
I'll buy like the 40 or 50 pound bag of dog food at Costco, and I'll be taking it out to my car, and some gentleman will come along and say, "Oh, honey, can I put that in the car for you?" And I can reach over with one hand and grab it and pick it up and put it in the trunk and say, "No, I think I got it."
Yeah.
That's a little satisfying, maybe in a smug kind of way, but it's like what you're talking about is just being able to work all day, and as I was saying in the intro about being able to serve others without being tired out, without and being healthier and not getting sick. So the gym, Ignite Fitness, has been going about 7 years, and you have a lot of people, members at the gym, who have been there from the beginning.
Yeah, I would say probably 75% of the members have been there at least 3 years.
Okay.
And the remaining have been there at least a year or two. There's only a handful that have tried it out and just don't seem to like it.
Just wasn't for them.
And that could be because they moved or work got in the way or something like that. Doesn't mean they didn't like it, but it's very rare that somebody actually starts it and does it for a few months and doesn't continue with it just
Right.
because of the results they get.
Well, and I think a big thing is the community. And every CrossFit gym will say that they have community. I think ours is pretty special. Yesterday I was in there at lunchtime, which, I'm not usually there at lunch. I usually go later. But just worked out better to be there at lunch yesterday. And that was rough, that 3 thing, that we were doing. And I was last, because I'm last a lot. And I'm okay because I always say I'm in front of people who are on the couch. So I'm okay. I'm not
That's
really
right.
last, right? But as I'm, still working and other people are done, they're cheering me on. They're saying you can do it. And if I was in a regular global type gym, I wouldn't have that. There'd be strangers around me who are doing their thing, and I'd just be sitting there going mad at myself because I'm not doing something that I thought I should do. So I think community is a big part of that.
Yes, definitely. It's teamwork. Very similar to if you were on any sport in high school, whether it's cheerleading, football, volleyball, even band.
It feels like a team.
They're there
Yeah.
to encourage you. They're not against you. They don't want you to do bad. They want to do their best, but then they want you to do your best also because they feel by making you better, it makes them better and vice versa.
Another great thing about CrossFit, which really came into play for me, because I really wasn't the most fit person when I started. I had trouble, with the air squats, let alone, carrying weight and doing it. But the thing that was a gift for me is I could start where I was at in my health, my fitness journey, no matter where you are along, as I got better, it's still challenging me because it keeps getting modified and scaled to where I'm at. So I think that's one of the things people don't really understand about CrossFit, because they'll see the CrossFit Games or something and they'll think, if I do CrossFit, I have to do that. That's crazy, right? But those are the really elite athletes in the field of CrossFit. So pretty much any age, wherever you are in your fitness journey, you can do CrossFit because everything can be modified and scaled to where you are. So I like that about that. Kind of creates a little bit more of an even playing field
Yeah.
in the gym. So I also have here in the studio Susan Walker.
Hey.
And I don't know Susan that well because you actually work out in the morning, but your husband works out in the afternoon when I do, so I actually know your husband. And we have a lot of couples at Ignite Fitness, don't we?
We sure do.
Which I love, because I work out with my husband too, and I see a lot of couples kind of do that. Like one will work out in the morning and one will work out in the afternoon because they're tag teaming with the kids,
That's right.
which I think is great.
And then on Saturday, when we could do the team workout, we always
Together.
laugh and say, this is good marriage building material right here, because you do have to communicate. You have to, work as a team. And of course, you've always got usually one that's a little bit more competitive than the other. Not so much in the case of my husband and I, but because we're both really competitive, and come on, you can get one more of those, or you're going to have to do more of this and I'll do more of that. I can't do everything. But
Strategize
that's right.
to
But
strengths,
it's a fun.
yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
So tell us a little bit about your fitness journey.
Okay. I played softball, ran track, did all of that kind of thing during my school grade years and then on into high school, and actually did some cheer with a group called UCA, and they teach cheerleading camps to high schoolers and things like that. So I've always been pretty active. Of course, went away to college, and then that kind of fell off a good bit. After college, got married, and then started popping out kids. I have 3 boys, and kind of realized in between all of those, I got to get my act together and get out there. So I started running, distance running, and I've done several half marathons and one full marathon. That was kind of a way to sort of get myself back into it. And I've gone to other gyms and things like that, but it kind of gets monotonous after a while. And even going to a gym, it can be very intimidating because you don't really know what you're doing, or you're doing a few things you've learned through some classes or whatever, but you don't really see the results. And my husband started going to CrossFit at Ignite Fitness, and he said, hey, I kept saying, hey, do you think I could do that? Because I really kind of wanted to try it, but I was a little bit embarrassed that I wouldn't be able to do it. And he said, oh, yeah, I think you could do it. And so about 3 months in, I went in and joined him for a few of those group classes where we worked as a team. And I was like, I really like this a lot. I like the fact that I can walk in. I don't have to think about what am I going to do today, how much weight should I be doing, any of those things. I just look at the board.
The workout of the day is right there.
They start it up, and, I can say, Shane, do you think I need to do this weight because this seems heavy? And he's like, oh, yeah, you got that weight, or no, let's scale it back. So like you were saying, it kind of scales to you. But
Have you done weights before CrossFit?
Just those little dumbbells, at the
hand dumbbells,
the little community classes and things.
I lifted a weight in my life before I walked in there either.
It was crazy. I'm like, wait, I got to lift that bar with those big, it looks very, very intimidating. But I can definitely say I've been doing it just a year this month, that I am in great shape. Like you were saying, picking that dog food bag up and stuff and throwing it in and, like, carrying the kids around. And, my goal is to be able to keep up with my kids because we have lots of energy in our house with those 3 boys. And so I want to be able to go out there and throw the ball with them, still beat them in a sprint up and down the football field because I pride myself on that. I'm like, one day they're going to catch me, but not today. But yeah, so I mean, that's my goal, is to be healthy and to be able to be there with them, keep up with them.
That's a great goal. We were talking about that in the intro, that it's, it's not what's our motivation, for getting fit and healthy. And it's not necessarily just for the sake of being fit and healthy. It's what it allows us to do.
Right. I have a really funny story. Right after my youngest was born, so I have the 3 boys, and there's 5 years between the first and the last, and then the last 2 are 17 months apart. And I was walking into the gym one day. This was before I was at CrossFit, and I had, one in the baby carrier and, like, one on the hip, and the other one's, like, running around me. And this gentleman said, you don't need to work out. Like, you're already getting a lot of workout. And I said, this is my break. I'm like, I take them, I drop them off, and I get to exercise, and nobody's asking me questions. I can focus on myself for 1 hour. So that I
Shane
always
calls it the best part of your day.
That's right. It's good. It's good. It's kind of a reset button,
right,
so to speak. Even though you don't want to go, some days you get up and you're like, oh, I don't really want to do this. But then once you get there and you get in it and you have this community of people, as y'all were saying, it's kind of an accountability. And then, of course, you want to work hard, and you always feel so much better when you get done. So it's definitely worth it to put it a part of your routine every day.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. We also have in the studio Anne-Marie Harvey. And Anne-Marie, I met you at CrossFit you started a few months after me, right?
I think I started before you, actually.
Oh, before. So you started a few months before me. I knew it was right about the same time.
Yeah, I just had my 6th anniversary this month, probably 2 weeks ago or so, that I had joined. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I've known you as long as I've been going.
Right.
And as a little side note, you actually ended up coming and working for me.
I did,
at
most
Vertical
certainly.
Solutions. So, and we're also good friends too.
We
so
are.
we're multifaceted. We're
Yes.
CrossFit community. employee, boss, whatever,
Yes.
whatever we call that.
I don't know.
I know we're kind of casual about
Yeah,
it,
we
and we're
are.
friends as well. So
Absolutely.
tell us a little bit about your fitness journey and how you ended up at Ignite.
Well, it's kind of funny because I would probably be the last person you would ever expect to be in a gym lifting weights. I was the kid never picked for a team in PE class. I kind of have a little bit of a sad story, I guess. When I was 9, I had a PE teacher who got mad at me because I couldn't spike a volleyball over the net. And I was this really tiny, scrawny little girl.
Okay, you need to tell us how tall you are.
I'm 5'3"
5'3".
and a half. Yeah. So, but imagine a 9-year-old me. I'm probably, little bitty as compared to all my friends. And he yells at me and says, "What's the matter with you? Have you got kidneys for brains?" And I was devastated. I mean, what a horrible thing to say to a child who's just trying to learn how to do something. I was your brainy kid. I always was reading. I liked to be outside and play, but I wasn't one to say, "Hey, I'm going to go run 5 miles," or "I want to be on the track team," or "I'd like to play this sport," because I wasn't good at any of that. So, fast forward through college, had to take those required PE classes. That was all I ever did. We did some weights in there. I went out and did aerobics instead, anything to keep from having to take the really heavy duty stuff. But I decided when I was about 35, I need to do something fitness related. I'm tired of not liking my body, and I'm tired of, I had a 3-year-old at the time and a 6-year-old, and I thought I have to do something for me. And it was the right time with everybody was sort of in a Mother's Day out or school, and I had time on my hands where I had, maybe 20, 30 minutes. So I joined a local Curves. And I did that for a while, and Shane often laughs at me when I say I started out at Curves. But the thing that Curves did for me is that it gave me a regimen, I guess. It gave me a time every day where I was going to go do something. Now, whether it was the best something for me at that time, I don't know. But within those 6 years, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with leukemia. And I had been walking a little bit, and I was dealing with a lot of stress. And I suddenly found myself running one day. And I realized when I was done, I had run 2 miles. And I thought, whoa, okay, I just ran 2 miles. I've never run 2 miles before in my life. That felt really good. And it was just such a great stress release. And I was getting bored doing what I'd been doing and was ready to look for the next level. And I walked into the chiropractor one day, and there was a flyer from Ignite in there. And it had a before and after picture of somebody I knew that I had known for a long time since our girls were really little, dancing together. And she looked great. And I thought, wow, okay, maybe this is something I need to go try. So I walked down, got the number off the window, and didn't walk in because I was kind of scared too. But I called Shane, and lo and behold, there was a guest class that Saturday. And I said, okay, sign me up. I'm going to come do that. And it was a 20-minute, we call them AMRAPs. They're as many rounds as possible. 20 minutes. And I think it was something like wall balls and sit-ups, and the third one may have been push-ups. I can't even remember now. But I know the next day I had to get on a plane to go to New York, and I was so sore I couldn't move. We flew back Tuesday, and I called Shane immediately and said, sign me up. I want to do this. So did my introductory classes, learned how to do CrossFit, and the bug bit me hard.
Yeah, as they say, drink the Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah, well, when you go from the 15-pound barbell feeling really heavy to suddenly feeling like I could toss it across the room to the 35-pound barbell feeling pretty easy to pick up. It's such a feeling of empowerment.
Right.
And it's just given me so many other positive things that I would never have dreamed possible. I never would have thought that I could back squat 165 pounds at 47 years old. But I can do that.
And 5'3".
At
We'll
5'3".
just throw that out there.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing I love that Shane has always told me along the way is, don't say you can't do it. Just say you can't do it yet, because you will be able to do it. And there's some things that have limited me, and I've had a few injuries and issues, but like you were saying, it's all very scalable. And so I do what I can do. And, we did snatches today. I can't snatch a bar right now. My shoulder's kind of jacked up. I don't really want to have surgery on it. So I cleaned. I did cleans instead. That's okay. All I'm doing is making myself the best athlete I can be for me today. So I've often said, I'm not athletic. Shane said, you are now. So, yeah.
So you've watched all three of us really come on a journey. You've been about a year, right? You've been a little longer than I have. I'm coming up on 6 years. It must be satisfying for you as a coach, right?
It is, and
It's to see
going back
people-
to what Anne Marie said about she was never athletic back in school. I've seen time and time again. Once I train people, and I say, "What sport did you play in high school?" And they're like, "I didn't." And what satisfies me is I see that they do have athletic,
They have some
ability.
talent,
They
right?
have some talent, and I wish they could have played sports because they probably would have been good. But the good thing is, it doesn't matter if they're 35 or 47. They found out now they do have some talent and ability to do something that they didn't think they could. And
Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the myths of CrossFit. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Everything holding on to what I'm feeling, savoring this.
Do you want a revolution? Say, do you want a revolution?
Welcome back to Dancing in the Rain. I'm your host, Bethany Meadows. You know, I told you that's like my one of my housekeeping
vacuum
songs.
cleaning
That's right.
job.
You can really get down with the vacuum cleaner with
It's
that
a good
song.
workout song.
It is a good workout song. We have some good music at Ignite too.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You got to have good music to work out.
But this is true. Okay, myths. There are a lot of myths about CrossFit, right? Because it's just one of those things. People just say things like when they don't even know, right?
Yeah.
So one of them, which I'm here as a testimony to this, I'm not fit enough to start CrossFit yet. I thought that. Because I wasn't fit at all. Like I could walk to the end of the driveway and I was out of breath, right? I was that person. So, and I was like, oh, we're going to run today. Yay. I was like the walk runner person. But I can run now. I don't necessarily, it's not my favorite, but I can run now without the walking in between.
There you
You
go.
know? My goal is to not let people lap me. Anyway, not fit enough to start CrossFit yet. What do you say to that, Shane?
I've heard that time and time again. Hey, let me take a month or 2 months to go ahead and get in shape so I can go ahead and start CrossFit. Well, that's one of the biggest myths, because everybody starts where you think you are right now. Meaning, there's people. I've had 60-year-olds never ever work out in their whole life. I'm talking about anything start. So anybody can start no matter where you are. If you're 100 pounds overweight, if you think you're the most clumsiest person in the world, everything is scalable. So
Anne Marie just lifted her hand when you said clumsy.
we'll meet you at your needs. Meaning, after your fundamentals classes, I'll kind of get an understanding on how strong you are, how talented you are as far as moving weights, and I will pretty much have a good idea at that point where to start you at as far as weights and scalability and modifications, and that's what CrossFit is all the time. So
I think
the
the
better you
weights
get in
is
shape,
what intimidated me the most.
Yeah.
Like if I came in to talk to you one day and there was a class going on and it had weights, and I was looking at that, and so in my mind I'm going, I can't do that, because that was my mindset, right, about a lot of things. I can't do that, and it turned out weights is what I do the
You like it,
best,
yeah.
right?
That's right.
The thing that somehow there's some sort of eye-hand coordination that I have, and I'm able to finesse.
Yeah.
Maybe at the first it wasn't even the strength, but I was able to finesse a little bit with form, and that's something you emphasize a lot is keeping that good form, and that's to keep us safe, right?
Yes,
So
exactly.
another one, because I hear this all the time. It'll make women bulky, because they think if we do CrossFit, you're going to end up looking like you're like Miss Universe, bodybuilder,
Yeah.
right? Far from the truth.
Well, I used to get that when I personal trained. I don't want to get bulky. Well, if you're wanting to stay the most healthy as far as not only looking good but having bone density that's good, and having
Well, that's
Up-
a good point about bone density, because as we age, especially as women, that's an important part of our health and our, maintaining proper posture and strength and all of that, right?
Absolutely. And if you're not doing any weights, I don't care what you're doing, it's vital for you to do that, or you're going to be one of those people that are using a walker or a cane when you get older. And I want my members, including myself, to, when I get older, be able to live life to its fullest, be able to walk continuously, be able to run, not depending on somebody else to move you around and get in one of those carts in a grocery store.
Well, that kind of ties into the next myth, which is that it's not appropriate for older folks. Which I'm
That
kind of
is-
in the older folks category, I think.
Well, one of our most inspiring members to me is now 60, and so I've known him for a good while. But no matter what life has thrown at him, and he's had some just things that have worn on him over time, neck injuries, back problems, knee problems. That guy never stops. He's always in there doing something. There's always something you can do, no matter how old you are. I don't think it matters. The problem is that too many older people just stop and sit still. And that's when everything shuts down, from your mind to your body, and it all has to work together. So to me, there's nothing more important than being physically fit as I'm entering, I'm getting closer and closer to 50. So for me, I can't even fathom the thought of stopping or it's never too late to start something. So I don't think age should ever be a factor.
And what's really humbling is when you go in there and there are people in there who are 15 years older than you and they're beating your score. You're like, okay, reality check. Like, I've got some work to do here. Like, that shouldn't be happening. So, but it is encouraging, because one of the ladies that's in my class at 9:30, who is at least 15 years older than me, I always tell her, I'm like, if I could be in your shape when I'm your age, like, I would be so happy, because she's just so fit and she just continues to push herself, and she doesn't let that become a factor for her.
When we actually started, my husband's 50 now. Of course, when we started, that would have been almost 6 years ago, so he would have been the 44, 45 range. He has scoliosis in his neck. He actually has a kind of a bump there. So his back and his neck hurt every day. He was in pain all the time. This is before CrossFit. And so he was like always taking Advil, like tons and tons of Advil every day, just to deal with this pain. And within several months of doing CrossFit, his neck and his back had gotten so strong that he's not taken any Advil since. It straightened his posture out, because he was starting to where he was, getting that curve and bending over, and it's actually straightened it back out. So he was struggling just with some of that stuff, and CrossFit fixed it just by strengthening everything.
And just like him, that's usually the case in almost every excuse that somebody has, is the reason why they should do CrossFit. Well, my back hurts. That's why you need to do CrossFit.
Right.
Well, I don't have time and I'm so stressed. That's why you need to do it, is to relieve your stress. Okay.
That's one of mine.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Again, I'm too old. Okay, I'm too young. Well, that's why you need to start. So anything you have that might be excuse, just come to me. I promise you, I will have that same reason as why you need to be doing it.
Right. One of the other myths is about the time it takes to train. So there's this idea that it takes a long time, but actually, that's the greatest thing about CrossFit, is that it's in and out. It's almost like what do you call it? HIIT training, right? It's almost the HIIT.
Well,
It's because it's
functional training.
intense and it's kind of compact and it's very directed, and the way that you do the programming too, you're resting muscles in between working other muscles. So you're not necessarily focused on arms every day. You give your arms a break and then you focus on legs that day, or abs or whatever. So it has this kind of cycle effect, which also helps with, keeping from injury, which is another myth of CrossFit, right?
Yeah.
Is that it causes injuries. But I have a brother-in-law who runs marathons, and I'm like, man, you need to come do CrossFit. I mean, if you're a marathon runner, CrossFit will really help your time, right? But he's like, his knees are shot, his back is, he's like going to have surgery on, his spinal cord on his back because it's shot, and it's, because it's repetition is what he's doing, this long distance running. He'll run 20 miles just for fun, before he goes to church on Sundays. So, that's the thing about CrossFit is you're always rotating, and so you're resting in between. So it really isn't as long as you're doing it properly under good coaching and so forth, it really isn't what we would quote unquote say dangerous, right?
Well,
because you're going to hurt yourself
everything's
doing anything
dangerous.
you do.
I mean, you can walk off the side of the curb and twist your ankle. So anything can be dangerous. You can get hurt and everything. But as far as a standpoint of percentage of injury, CrossFit is one of the least, I would say, has the least injuries of any sport, okay? Football, cheerleading, gymnastics, all that has way more percentage of injuries than CrossFit, especially if you find a CrossFit that has a coach that knows how to scale things. And that's the key, is finding a place that knows how to modify, how to scale, and if you have injuries or if you have past injuries, how to do movements that aren't going to hurt you. Okay?
Right.
And
can help strengthen those areas that maybe
not
you have
only
a weakness
won't
in.
hurt you, but help heal those injuries.
Right. Some of the, another myth is that you can't do other workouts if you're doing CrossFit. So, like, there's a lot of people we've had a lot of football players, college ball players coming in to do workouts there in addition to help them in the off season.
Well, back where you're saying about runners and cyclists, we have several of those who have done this in addition to help their cycling and running. And one of our coaches, actually our most tenured coach, Sonia, who's run 100 miles a couple of times and numerous marathons and all these crazy ultras.
Right.
If she hadn't been doing CrossFit over the last 6 years, she probably would have gone through lots of injuries of that much running. But from what I know of, she's only probably been to one or two minor injuries that have healed up very quick because she has strong legs. She has a strong core that helps her get through the running. Okay. Otherwise, like most of her friends, they're down and out and can't run for 6 months or a year. She's never gone through a period like that.
Right.
I will throw in there, I'm not the kind of runner that Sonia is, but I have run some, and then I started CrossFit, and so really over the past year I haven't really run any distance, so to speak, because I've been doing CrossFit, and then time becomes an issue. But just the past couple weeks, there was a challenge that I took part in on top of doing the CrossFit, which was to run 50 miles in 2 weeks. And like I said, I hadn't really been running distance like that. And I was able to just pick it right back up and hit the road and do it. And I felt strong. You know, it is a cardio thing, which cardio is a big part of what we do in CrossFit too. But just the strength of it, like my legs felt good, my core felt good. I did not feel that grind that you kind of feel over time if you're just doing one type of exercise. So I definitely think that it helps all of the different things that maybe you were involved in, not just, you know,
well, I'd
lifting
say
weights.
too that I ran a 10K with virtually no prep and had no problems with it. And then we ran a half marathon 2 years ago, and I had been training for it, and then I had a bit of a foot injury, so I was kind of holding off on the training. Still went and ran that half marathon with virtually no training the 3 weeks leading up to the race. So, and I think I could do all of that because of CrossFit.
Absolutely.
Well, so we have just a few minutes left, so I want to talk a little bit about, because this is our what we call mom chat. This is a little bit different show than we normally do, but you know, there's some ways that we can encourage our kids to be physically active. You know, my girls when they were teenagers played volleyball. My son played soccer. We weren't really a big sport family like that, just because there were so many of them, and I just couldn't juggle that many and being involved with so many different things. But I do think it's a real problem. So we're in the age of video games, right? 1 in 3 children, only 1 in 3 are active every day. Less than 50% of the time spent in sports, practice, games, and physical education class involves moving enough to be considered physical activity. So what they're actually doing is really not that vigorous. children and teens spend more than 7 hours per day on average using TV, computer, phones, and other electronic devices for entertainment. How do you like that statistic?
It's bad.
1 out of 3 children is either overweight or obese in the United States, which that's a horrible statistic. And overweight teens have a 70% chance of becoming an overweight or obese adult. So it starts when they're young, right? And, you know, so one of the things about me being involved with CrossFit, one of my regrets, I didn't get involved until I was in my 40s. So my kids were grown. And I look back now and I wish I could have set that example for them early. I mean, they cheer me on. They think it's great that I'm doing it. And they've actually come as guests and got a reality check about how much more in shape I am than they are. Because we'll go head to head, and I'll be lifting more weight than they're lifting. I'll still beat them on the reps and things like that. So there's some, you know,
Go mom.
go mom moment there. But you know, I wish that I had been more of an example to them when they were younger, because it does start. What we say doesn't matter as much as what we do, right? So some of the ways that we can get kids started who maybe aren't necessarily there yet is we can talk to their doctor. Sometimes the doctor can say things to them, whereas we say it and it's like, ugh, whatever, you know, eye roll.
Yeah.
But if they hear it from somebody they respect and have authority that they really need to get more involved for their health, then there's like, okay, I'll agree to do something. Because the part of it is buy-in, right?
Absolutely.
I guess one of the things is finding something that they actually enjoy and get them doing it. We have kids classes in the summertime at Ignite, right?
Yes, we have kids classes summer, meaning younger ones between 6 and 11 years old. However, we have kids that come with their parents that will be in the corner doing their iPad or whatever, and they'll watch their dad or their mom do it for a week or so, and then they'll start saying, "You know what? I think I can do that, Dad. You think I can do a class?" And next thing leads to one thing leads to another, and they're actually doing the class with their dad, and they're having a blast.
Right.
And it wasn't really anything the dad or mom pushed. They saw the parent having fun,
Right.
and then they saw, wow, I can do
And
that.
people cheering.
If my dad
and
can do it, and he's
encouraging.
50 or 45, I can do it.
Yeah, yeah. You see the kids, they get on because there's the bars,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that we have in the gym. And the kids will get up on those bars and they'll be like, you know, doing a pull-up or something after. And then, you know, people, all right, that's great. Great job. And you can just see how, you know, their self-esteem's being bolstered for that.
I think my kids could climb the rope before I could, like scale it like that. I mean,
Oh,
quick.
I've seen tons of kids in there who could scale that thing so quickly or do a muscle up. And
Yeah.
you're just like, really?
Yeah.
I've been working on that for years.
And it's funny when they start using the jargon, you know, they're like, how'd you do on that AMRAP today, Mom? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I brought mine just to watch because they've just, well, what do you go and do, Mom? Why are you gone so long? What? But they could tell a difference, and they saw how it was a priority in my life for me. And it's funny because my daughter's in college now, and she called me not long ago, and she said, well, I went to the gym today, Mom. You'd be so proud of me. And I said, yes, I am. She's a dancer. She dances all the time, many classes a week, but to actually go do something physical in the gym too. She says, well, I just walked on the treadmill, but at least I did something. Like, absolutely.
My middle daughter, who was the one who really didn't want to do physical stuff, married a guy who's very active. So by default, she's now they're running, they do like those mini triathlons and stuff together. They train for that. And so they're always running and cycling and doing stuff. And I just think it's funny because she was the one I was like, hey, how about we go do that? Nah, I don't really want to do, you know, she was that kid. But she married the wrong guy for that, I'll tell you, because he is all about it every day. So, and that was one of the things on the list, you know. I have to have a list, right, Big Dave?
Of course.
Every show's got to have a list. Be a role model, right? And that's what we're talking about here. But another one is just kind of getting out with our kids. You know how we're just kind of busy and crazy, and it's just easier to let them go play video games than it is to say, let's go outside and ride the bike. So some of it falls on us a lot of times.
I have to say, I went on a bike ride yesterday with one of mine, and I was like, wait, we don't use those muscles at CrossFit. Like my legs were burning so bad. And I was like, wait, this is not supposed to be happening. Like I'm fit. Like we've been working out.
It's funny how even sometimes those little things will catch you. I've been taking my younger daughter to the Y. She's got some pain issues she's dealing with. And so we've been going and walking on the treadmill because she has to just try to rebuild her strength. And I've been walking really fast up that big incline, and it's been kicking my butt. So it's good. It's good every time, no matter what you do.
Well,
one other thing
yeah.
before exercise and CrossFit, all that's very important. But one other thing that I can't leave out is the food. As far as your diet, we teach you how to eat right, and that's very, very, very important. So we will not leave that out.
Yes, that's a good point. I'm glad you said that. We probably should have talked about nutrition, but we're running out of time. That's the music starts. We know it's like get off the mic now. But before we go, I need to tell you, go check out our website, Matthew725.net. The radio tab has a podcast of the show, so if you want to go back and listen to past shows, you can. Visit us on Facebook, facebook.com/Matthew725. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
You brought the pieces together, made me that storyteller.